This is the Heroic Voice, where I talk to comic book creators, people I've worked with, other interesting people, about the history of comics, superheroes, and the current state of the comic book industry. I also discuss current and upcoming projects, current events, and any other topics my guests might be interested in talking about. So subscribe and hit the like button. Help me grow this channel and promote indie comic book creators, publishers, and other people affiliated with the comic book industry. Your comments are appreciated. Get to it and leave feedback, good, bad, and otherwise. I am your host, Dennis Maloney, writer, publisher of the Heroic Multiverse, where we spotlight good girls, bad girls, super babes, and superheroics in a classic, kind of golden agey style. Grab some snacks and enjoy. This is the Heroic Voice. Hi, welcome to the Heroic Voice. I am here with the esteemed Barry Gregory of Ka-Blam. He's our printer, and Indyplanet, which is their comic book sales website, both digital and physical. And welcome, Barry. It is March 14th, Pi Day 2025. Glad to have you. Pleasure to
Thank you,
meet you
Dennis.
face to face for the first time.
Yeah, how about that? Thanks.
Yeah. After all these years, we've never met face to face until now.
I don't think we have.
Yeah. So let's talk about printing.
Okay.
What got you, made you decide to, move into comic book and book printing?
Well, I kind of stumbled in actually. I back around the sometime in the early aughts, I had taken a little hiatus from comics for a couple of years. I worked off and on, made my living in comics from the early '90s to the early aughts, and then took a couple of years off. And then once I got back in, I needed a place to print my books. And I was using another print-on-demand company and was quite happy with them. But then they started having some issues, and I went 4 months waiting on an order. And so I started looking around to see what it would take to lease a machine that would I could print my own books with. Had no intention of starting a business. I just wanted something that I could print my books, print a few friends' books. That would be it. But the more I researched it, the more I realized the expense involved,
Oh, yeah.
and that the only way I would be able to do this was, to start a business and hope it worked.
I will tell you that I also explored that in the 1990s,
Yeah,
and found the same thing, right? It was feasible to do, but just, you know, too expensive unless you're running volume.
yes, absolutely.
It's not possible to do it on a small scale. So we experimented with a friend's printer. He had a real estate company and he had his own printer. So we experimented with doing some comic books on that printer. And it could have worked, but again, the issue was volume. So
Hmm.
it just wasn't economical for him to do it, even though he's willing to test it with us. So we abandoned that. And when you say the aughts, you're talking about 2000 aughts, not 19
Yeah,
aughts.
yeah. It was around 2002, 2003, somewhere uh, that I started back doing it, and it was late 2005 uh, once Ka-Blam finally had machines in, and well, we had just one machine to start. Um, but then it was sometime in early 2006 we actually started taking orders.
Mhm.
We spent a few weeks just really figuring out how to make it all work.
Given that timing, if I remember correctly, I must have been one of your earliest customers.
You are you I believe you've got a 4 digit customer number, and I think you're in the 3000s. So yeah, you were probably one of the first 2,000 or so users. I mean, we had a lot of people that signed up and never actually used the system,
Well, I
but
think I've used it quite a bit over
you
the years.
have,
Yeah.
you have.
And you've done a
Yeah,
good job
I'm
by
not, I'm not
shrinking.
sure if we, I'm not sure if we've had anybody put in as many orders as you have. I mean, you've got so many items that you've got in your catalog.
And they sell pretty regularly, I've noticed, on Indyplanet, whether it's physical or digital. Uh,
Good.
yeah. My, I mean, I'm curious, what compared to other, publishers that you sell through the Indyplanet platform, how do we compare to that? How does Heroic Publishing compare to that?
Honestly, I'm not sure off the top of my head. Um, I know um, we had for the longest time our best selling book um, was a book that actually had a Netflix deal, and they had a 2 season series made off of just a single comic, one issue comic.
Hmm.
Um, and that we still sell quite a bit of that book. That was far and away our best selling book for the longest time. And your books sell really well. Gary Carlson's Big Bang books sell really well. Um, my own Gallant books sell pretty well. Um, I'm drawing a blank here. Who else? There's a we've got about 8,000 books at Indyplanet right now, so it's kind of hard to keep track of which ones.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And as you know, there was a time when we first started this that I saw everything that came through, and now I just see a fraction of the books that come through. You know, we've all kind of had to divvy things up, and I see a fraction of the books that come through now.
Scalability. I mean, are you at the point? Well, you must have got to the point where you needed more capacity, right?
Yeah, we've had we reached that point pretty quick early on. We upgraded presses, I think, within the first 6 months that we were in business, and then it's been every 3 to 4 years since we've upgraded. Right now, we've got two presses that are running pretty much 8 hours a day. So
Hmm, okay. I have an odd question. Who
sure.
created the Ka-Blam girl?
That was my old friend Stephen Butler. I was sitting beside him at a convention back in the early days, and he was just doing this doodle, and he uh, she was wearing overalls, and he put the Ka-Blam logo on the front of the overalls. And I said, well, what are you doing there? And he goes, I'm just doodling. And I'm like, no, you just drew my mascot. I've got to buy that from you now. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was those Stephen Butler designed her.
Have you ever done a story with her?
Uh, no, we've kicked around the idea, but ultimately, I kind of like the idea that she just exists as a mascot.
Hmm.
You know, I've had several people approach me over the years about cosplaying her at a show, and but I never really pulled the trigger on that one either. So
Well, I was going to suggest that you might want to have her make a guest appearance in some comic book, just yeah, cameo.
yeah, yeah, that might be fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's put that on the back burner. Maybe we could do that down the road. Yeah. Maybe I just spitballing here, right? Maybe the G girl or Flair has something she wants to get printed, right? And she
Okay,
goes to the facility and talks to the girl there, right?
we could probably make that work.
Yeah. Okay. Let's you seem to think have things on a pretty even keel. I remember early on there were some like goofs that were made. You printed somebody hit the wrong switch and a color book came out in black and white really early
Oh,
on.
it
That's
happens from time to time.
it hasn't happened again, as far as I know. And most recently, you left a page out and it shifted things. And it was an issue of
Hmm.
Anthem, I think, where we had a
I hope
blank
we got
page.
that fixed for you.
You did, and
Okay.
pretty quickly. Yeah. No, excuse me. Swallowed wrong. Let's talk about Indyplanet. You've got
Okay.
8,000 approximately. Why don't you talk while I regain my voice?
Yeah, there's about 8,000 titles up at Indyplanet. More going up all the time. I think I put up 7 or 8 just earlier today. There's always books waiting to go live. I've got about 100 books scheduled right now, and they'll be coming up over the next week or two, couple of weeks probably.
And this is almost all material that you've published, I would expect. Isn't there anything else other than this?
Well, that we've printed. Yeah,
Printed? Yeah.
we don't. I don't think we have anything up at Indyplanet that hasn't come through. And once upon a time, we had some consignment books at Indyplanet, but that never really worked out. So it's pretty much just been print on demand and digital download.
And it's a
So
wide selection of material from all sorts of indie
yep.
publishers, right? Across several different genres, not just superhero books, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
tell us all, because this is something comic fans should be interested in. You can go to indyplanet.com and find whole bunches of books that might have difficulty finding elsewhere.
Yeah, there's everything from superheroes to autobiographical to you know uh, manga to science fiction, fantasy books, horror books, some real avant-garde stuff even. We've got books by novice creators. We've got books by comic book Hall of Famers. It's there's a wide selection of stuff.
Hmm. And all of it in good printing quality. Yeah.
Thank you.
I've never been disappointed in your stuff except for those few strange glitches that occasionally happen. Yeah. And that's to be expected. Once in a while, someone will hit the wrong button and something will
Yeah.
come wrong and you won't notice it until later. So anyway, um, what's on you're doing your own publishing, right? Talk about that. What kind of stuff do you publish? I mean, not just the printing side, but the Barry Gregory publishing ventures.
Yeah, Gallup Comics was the is the name of my publishing imprint, and again, my old pal Stephen Butler's kind of to blame for that one. Um, he and I at a convention were kicking around dream projects, things we'd really love to do, and we'd been talking about it for years. And I think it was in 2011 or so. I finally told him that look, I'm gonna find the money to pay you to do this because if we don't do it now, someday we're going to be old men wondering why we never did that thing. So we did a 6 issue series called John Amen Amazing Man, and we took some characters from the public domain of comics and kind of reimagined them and created our own little superhero universe. And we did that 6 issue series that probably had 2 dozen different guest stars in it. And then I've published 3 or 4 other titles since then. The Extraordinary Miniature Man was our second title. Stephen and I did that one also. But then I've worked with some other artists. Luis Rivera and I did a book called Funny Man.
Oh, I done some
Uh,
work with Lewis.
yeah, he's a good artist,
He is.
really talented artist. Del Barris and I did some issues of my Biff Stone Monster Hunter for Hire character.
Dell is working on the G Girl story even
Yeah,
as we
I've, I've,
speak. Yeah,
I've seen his work in some of your books.
yeah.
What else? And I did the first issue of an anthology book just called Gallup Comics. I haven't gotten that one up yet at Indyplanet, but I did a Kickstarter campaign for that a few weeks back.
Successful.
So, yeah. So just got to get it up at Indyplanet now.
Alrighty. What about for the future? What does the future hold for not only for you, but for Ka-Blam and Indyplanet?
Uh, well, we're more of the same. As long as people want their comics in print, we're going to be around to do it. And anybody who prints a book at Ka-Blam has a standing invitation to list it at Indyplanet. It's pretty painless process. You know, you fill out your listing data, you select the price that you want to sell it for, and we subtract the printing cost, and you get 100% of the difference. We don't take a royalty or anything. We just take the printing cost, and yeah, sometimes it takes me a few weeks to get books up because there's always a backlog of books waiting to go live. But
It's both
that's
digital and physical.
digital and physical. Yeah,
I do have a question for you because I
sure.
was looking to put the Flair Volume 9 Virgin version up only
Okay,
only for print, and it doesn't
okay.
seem like I'm able to do that. It seems to
You
require digital.
um you can opt out, but you basically have to ask to opt out. So yeah, I can let you do that.
Alrighty.
We don't make it an option on the site because I fear too many people would take that option,
Ah,
and 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 it most people make more money from the digital sales than they do the print on demand. So I'd really rather not, you know, I'd rather not say, you know,
there are
well, you can
business
just do print
reasons.
on the, huh?
There are business reasons.
Yeah, some
Same
people
person.
have, yeah, and some people have reasons to not want to do it. You know,
Mhm.
I've got a book that I only do the print at Indyplanet because I've got an exclusive at Kindle with the digital.
Mhm.
Um, um, so there's reasons, and yeah, we'll let you opt out, but you know,
All right, I'll send you a note on that.
we would hope that you wouldn't because if you can
Well,
put it up digitally,
the
that
thing
you would.
about the thing about the Virgin cover is it's kind of meaningless to have it in digital format.
I agree, and in general, you know, on variant covers and things like that, that's one thing that for the most part we do just list as a print. You know, the main cover can go up in digital, but variance is a collector thing, and there's no real
Exactly.
point to collecting digital.
What
So
conventions? If people want to meet you and shoot the breeze.
fewer and fewer. I used to do San Diego every year, but then I had a goof up with my hotel registration 2 or 3 years ago, and didn't end up getting a room, so I had to cancel my appearance. And then it's the next year rolled around, and I kind of wanted to go, and I kind of didn't miss it as much as I thought I would. And
I know
so
that story.
I haven't been back to San Diego in about 3 years, but
What about Florida?
I love that show, and I love that city.
What about
Um,
conventions in Florida where you're based?
there's a show, there's a MegaCon here in Orlando. We used to do that one regularly. I haven't done it in a few years. I don't get around to shows like we used to. You know, in the early days, conventions were a big part of the business, and we would go to as many as we could to meet people and you know try to get business. But over the year, especially since crowdfunding has come along, crowdfunding is a much bigger part of our business than convention sales are, and so
Yeah.
we just don't do as many conventions anymore.
And to my mind, the only reason to do a convention is just to stay in touch with people personally.
Yeah,
It's been a long time. You mentioned San Diego. It's been a long time since it's been possible for us to make back the money that we would spend on a booth down there. It
yeah,
just hasn't happened in a long time. So I don't do it anymore. But my vice president goes down there every year. He enjoys going to it. Me, not so
yeah,
much. Um, so I got to get back into the swing of things because, there are people that it's good to talk to.
yeah,
And it's often the case that convention is the only place that you can, sit down and chat. So,
yeah.
um, what advice? Well, let me give some advice. If you have a book that you
Okay,
want to get printed, go to kablam.com. That's Ka-Blam.com. and get yourself a dang account because Barry and his lovely better half do very good work down there. We haven't
Thank you.
mentioned Jen. We should mention.
We should. Yeah,
Please,
we couldn't do it without her.
please do. Please do mention.
Yeah, she handles most of the actual user relations. She's usually the one in the messages, you know, at talking to people, and she does a lot of the prep work on files. So she's indispensable to the operation.
That's exactly the word I was going to use. Indispensable, not operation. Indispensable. Uh, Barry, is there anything you'd like to add here? We've covered Ka-Blam, Indyplanet. I can't recommend them highly enough to people who want to get material up there. Oh, there is one other thing. All
Sure.
right. We actually sent you some books that we printed before we were working with Indyplanet, just so you would have the files. Is that something you would be willing to do for other people as well?
Oh, sure, 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 sure. Yeah, I mean, as long as we've got printable files, we can list it at Indyplanet.
Okay.
Um, you can we recommend that you order at least one copy so you know what the print quality is and that it is what you want it to be. But even that's not necessary. If you've got printable files and you just want to sell the book at Indyplanet, yeah, put an order in at Ka-Blam and just put a note in the notes field saying this is just to send you files.
Yeah, that's actually the thing I wanted to kind of make sure that I mentioned because there are a lot of old books out there that you should be available through Indyplanet.
Yeah,
And I don't want to inundate you with these kinds of submissions. I would recommend that someone who wants to do this give you a query first, send you a question, ask if it's okay. But that's something that you could do at Indyplanet. And
oh, absolutely.
yeah, and at Ka-Blam. I mean, if you want to do a second edition, right, and go
Yeah,
from Ka-Blam, that's possible too. So,
yeah. If you've got a book that was published years ago and still got the printable files, there's no reason not to put it up in the store and try to earn some revenue off of it. There's no reason not to
okay,
keep it in print.
let's do that. I think I had never sent you Chrissy Claus #1. I need to do that. It just hasn't
Okay.
been on the top of my mind. Uh, Anything else that you'd like to add before we close off this wonderful Pi Day?
I'm looking forward to the pie. I've got a key lime in the fridge right now. Um, no, I appreciate you having me, Dennis. I really do. It was nice to put a face to the name.
It
And
was it was a pleasure to have you. Likewise, nice to put a face to the name. I hope we can do this in person sometime. It would be
me
great.
too.
Alrighty. Have yourself an excellent weekend, and thank you again for being here.
Oh, thanks, Dennis. I appreciate it.
Bye bye.